Hey guys, Mike here at Royal Clicks Productions. Today is the 21st of August 2018, and this is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom Pitch 1. So I showed you Pitch 2 around about 2 weeks ago. I wanted to wait until I got my new setup together. There is currently my new Mac Pro sitting over there, ready to go. So that's basically my task tonight, is to get this all configured so I can start getting back to pitching, because I've been out of the game for almost a month with these computer problems. But it occurred to me that given the new way I'm going to set the computers up, because I'm retiring the Mac Mini and I'm going to use the old Tower Mac and the new Mac Pro 6.1 together, this session won't work. So I figured I've got to show you it as it was on the old setup, which is slightly irritating, guys, because it's going to pop and click a bit, so do bear with me. I am trying to minimize it as much as possible. It seems the way Logic works in terms of its multi-threading is what it will do is, say you've got a track. So at the moment I've created an audio track here with only the only plugins on it are what's on my stereo out, so a little bit of mastering. I could turn it off, but the track will be a little quiet for you guys. What it will do is, say you've got like a sample library on here. Any plugins you've got associated with it when it's in record mode get processed by the same core. So it doesn't use multi-threading across kind of channels, if that makes sense. It may well split plugins. So say you bus your EQ and your compression onto one bus track, for instance, and then you put like another reverb or some mastering on another bus, and then you bust them all together. It will then start splitting the processes up, but that starts getting a bit of a nightmare. So I've tried to basically, throughout the whole session, I'm going to be sitting on this audio free track in the hope that basically it doesn't think I'm in live mode and it will just play the samples through. But if it does pop and click, it is no reflection of the sample libraries that I'm using. It is purely my system. Once I'm on the new setup, I hope I'll never come across this problem ever again. If I do, I may need to move doors, perhaps back to Pro Tools or maybe even Cubase. So that'll be interesting. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to play the pitch one that I did for Jurassic World. It's not got any kind of real melodic or tonal, not tonal, kind of musical theme, if you like, in this one. That was the second pitch, which I put out about 2 weeks ago. So we've got no hint to the theme. There's no, hint to anything that's sort of come before, except I tried to hope that it comes across that it's dinosaurs or beasts of some description. It definitely was composed with kind of theatre in mind, so a lot of the low rumbles, I hope they come across in the videos, but they may not, because it's sitting right in that, almost in a sub-level, some of it. Yeah, I hope you kind of get the hint of what I was going for. The studio definitely kind of did, or the trailer house did. This one has got some percussion in it, so we got some sort of hard-hitting stuff from Sting Audio's Alchemist alongside with Metropolis Arc, but I don't think this is good. Definitely not as good as what was placed. I went for like a real sort of organic kind of rumbly approach, whereas the one that got placed was a lot more kind of hard-hitting, perhaps what you'd expect from a trailer. I went a little bit too organic, I think, it got a little bit muddy at times. So yeah, let's play through it. I just wanted to give you a look at the first pitch and the second pitch as promised, and then we're going to move past this, and hopefully I'll start putting some videos out that are more up to date with what I'm currently up to. Again, thank you guys for joining the conversation, so enjoy. just got away with it. A few pops and clicks there. A little disclaimer like I did in the last video as well. Those pops and clicks are nothing to do with the sample libraries themselves, so don't think that, you know, if you go and buy Metropolis Arc or if you go and buy Albion, you're going to get this problem. It's purely just, I'm running an old setup, guys. So yeah, in terms of the libraries, as you can see, if you watched the previous one, not much changed in terms of the libraries themselves, just perhaps the way they were used change. So I added kind of like a whistle in the last one for the theme. Here we're using like a neigh, which is like a, let me try and play, it's just a harmonic patch. There we go. Have a look. It's just an odd flute that I kind of threw in there. Just to add some sort of like higher ending sounds, I suppose, because it is quite deep, the track. But while, you know, being sort of slightly odd as well, so it is an Eastern instrument. The big thing for me, again, I keep going on about this Evo Grid. It seems every video I do is Evo Grid, but I just think it's awesome. You know, if you've got 4 hours to do a track, which is what I had, it just helps to provide you, like to me, hearing that, I'm straight in my mind, like, what's happening? This is tense, this is a weird thing. Notice there as well, there's lots of, I do this a lot, I put a lot of tempo changes in my tracks. So A, that's to kind of maybe sync it up to picture, not that this was written to picture. Watch the video blog for that one. This was written purely sort of imagination. But I'll slow things up and speed things down, especially when working in like a sound design capacity, just to add a little bit of different interest. So with that one, for instance, I wanted to keep that trill going a little bit longer. So you slow it right up, and it'll just keep going. So it gives it like a slightly different interest. And as well, I suppose you could say that patch has been used by a lot of people. Although I would say, one thing that's good as well about Evo Grid, if I can actually bring it. Evo Grid, please. Why are you hiding from me? There we go. That is the choir stuff. Let's just bring up the sound design stuff. So I've gone into loads about this, but there's so many different kind of combinations of sounds that can be done in Evo Grid that is going to sound different to other people in terms of when you put it with other elements. But it just, to me, gives it a really nice starting point. If you're getting into a track and you know you want an eerie section, you know, within that cave part, for instance, to me, throwing that up there just gives it a nice introduction to what you're kind of going for. Epic percussion from Metropolis Arc, again, something I love, so let's just give you these sort of things. Did the same thing again that I explained in the last video there with the volume, so I didn't want to hear the initial hit. So take that, for instance, the initial kind of bang, I didn't want to hear it, I just wanted to hear the fallout, if you like. So I cut it off with volume, just literally volume automation. Then later on in the track, the only real volume automation that was used was just building the intensity of these swells. So I was hoping that in the cinema you'd hold on to those and it just become almost like a big force of sound that come in at the audience as the track kind of ended. Gravity obviously is a huge part of the track again, not quite as much as the other pitch. That was a bit edge of seat stuff, but there is a big riser in here, again using speed. But it's nowhere near as in your face if you listen to it in context. You know, so I went in a lot more with gravity on the second pitch. Drums wise, we are using Sting Audio for a lot of it, which give these big bang. So that's a loop within the software. Let's try and find it. Let's just loop that. There it is. So pulse 10, and I've just muted a couple of layers basically and added my own things in there, did a little bit of pitching. Changed the envelope slightly. So that just repeats basically, it's literally just a pulse 10. But I muted some of these. All these elements can be muted or unmuted, so I'm not using layer 2 at all, but the rest is all in there. So that's a cool library to check out for sure. That should be layered with those swells, so the ones that I showed you above from Metropolis Arc, those kind of percussion hits. I'm guessing the percussion hits, yeah. So they're building up the swells while the other drums are giving it almost like the bum ba bum ba bum bum, the more rhythmic kind of pattern from Sting Audio's Where Are We Alchemist. Hybrid 2 is a big feature in this as well for the big droney things. So if we give that a little bit of a solo. Hybrid 2, my drones. I hope you guys can hear that. It's quite subby. But that gives it almost like a nice intro into that section. And then we raise the volume as we go up. So it's just taking the track through with that riser. Really, it's merged with the riser if we put it back in context. You didn't hear the riser with it. But it's just to back that up and give it a big bottom low end. And again, the dinosaur-y sounds are using Survival, which is Sting Survival. So it's Evolve Mutations 2. So if I take you back over to Mac Mini, and we go into, it's going to be in sound design. Atmos is even. I get lost sometimes in my own tracks and can't remember how I built them. But have a look at my outputs. Bear with me, guys. Computer, is it on? This is the thing when you start going into multi-computer setups. You kind of forget where you are. Oh, there's on VEPro 2. Hybrid effects. Here we go. Sting Survival. So yeah, that's an old Evolve Mutations, which is basically this one here. So it's from Heaviosity. It's quite an old library, but it really gives you like an old. I don't know. I came across it and just thought, wow, that sounds dinosaur-y. I'll use it. I love it. So that gives you those sort of sounds. I built on those a little bit more. I found another sound within that pack, which sounded a lot more kind of almost like Velociraptor-y that I used in the second pitch. But again, that's within the second pitch video. So really, I just wanted to give you like an almost real quick overview as to what I used in that, the core libraries and the approach. So this was definitely coming from more of like a sound art approach. I didn't have any picture, so I was told it was just going to be kind of images of the previous films with a lot of voiceover, and it's going to build to some sort of climax. That then changed with the second pitch, where it was, you know, take most of the percussion out. And really come at it from like a tension aspect, hint at the theme, and the editors were talking about whistles, so I used whistles. Overall, I prefer the second pitch, which is why I did that video first, given the computer problems. I wanted to get that across. But some people like the first pitch as well. They kind of go hand in hand. So I wanted to just demo that in as quick as I could without kind of rambling on. I hope you guys have found that useful, at least in terms of maybe getting some hints at some of the libraries I used to create that sound. It didn't take me long, about 4 hours to do this one, and maybe about 5 to do the other. 5.5 maybe to do pitch 2. And these are my kind of helpful libraries in that capacity. Moving forward, I'm going to do a video based on my new setup, and hopefully might be able to do some live streaming as we move forward. I'm going to be moving house, guys, next month, so I may go quiet for a couple of weeks while I sort myself out in my new place, get used to the sound in there. But I'm hoping to be a lot more present on YouTube, especially since the new system will allow me to do a bit more in terms of potentially live things. Let me know if that's something that interests you, and I will see you guys in the next video. So take care. Bye-bye.